I remember pausing close to the front door and just thinking, no one's coming to save me. What do I do? I also had this recurring thought that whatever is going on, whatever's happening to me, it's pretty bad, and it feels a lot like what my father told me he experienced when he had a TIA, a mini stroke, just a few months earlier. I was still in this panic flight mode, and with no one answering the phone, I didn't know what else to do. I ran outside barefoot, no keys, didn't lock the house, and ran across the road and knocked on my neighbour's door and said, please, can you help me? I think I'm having a stroke. Thankfully, the wonderful neighbour is a retired aged care nurse. She took me inside, sat me down, got me some water, tried to calm me down, and called an ambulance. I remember at some point just starting to cry, and my neighbour, Pam, asked what was wrong, why was I crying? And I said, I'm worried about my kids. And she thought that I meant that they were at home by themselves, that something had happened. She was about to send her husband over to check on the kids. And I couldn't quite put into words what I was feeling. But in my head, all I could think was, what if this is it for me? And what will my kids do without me? When the ambulance arrived, the paramedics came in and started checking my vitals and asking me questions. My sister arrived not long after, and they were asking me, do you know what day it is? I would say yes, and in my head it was flashing, Monday, it's Monday. But for the life of me, I could not get that out, and it was just the most bizarre feeling to have zero control over that, to be thinking it and even seeing the word flashing up inside my head, and it just wasn't connected to my mouth. I remember they asked when my sister arrived, do you know who this is? And I said, yes. And they just looked at me waiting for an answer. And my response was, fuck, followed by, sorry, Pam. And I whispered to my sister, I can't fucking say it. And not long after, my husband arrived and we were off to the hospital. The ride to the hospital was really disorientating. I was on the gurney and I was backwards, so everything was just weird for me. My vision was still weird. The one paramedic that was looking after me in the back of the ambulance looked like she had an eye bulging out the side of her head, and I remember her asking, do you want some medication? Because I was just feeling dizzy and nauseous and just not with it. But I declined the medication because the last thing I wanted was to feel even more out of my body than I already was at that point in time. In hindsight, I'm just really thankful that I was able to get myself to the neighbours and get myself help in the state that I was in, and then obviously get to the hospital where I could be looked after. But what came next was something that I just never expected, and soon came to learn happens to way too many people, and in particular, women.